Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Pan TheOrganizer. Today we're doing something cool. We're talking about machine polishing, also known as paint correction. So if your paint has any scratches, swirls, or oxidation, you want to remove all of those and perfect the paintwork to give more gloss, to give more depth, more clarity, make it pop, and of course make it defect-free. But it can get confusing, right? Because there are things like dual action polishers or rotary polishers. There are some gear-driven polishers. Then you have pads, right? There are microfiber pads, there are wool pads, there are foam pads. Which ones do you pick? Is it better to have a DA or a rotary polisher or a gear-driven polisher? Are there pads that are better than the others? How does all of that work? Also, how do you work the machines, right? How much pressure are you adding? What speed are you working at? Are you doing cross-hatch patterns? How does it all work? Well, you're in luck. I have some very experienced professional detailers that are here as special guests today. They're friends of mine. So Yvan Lacroix and Nick McGurk, they're partners and owners of DIY Detail, a car detailing brand. They have a bunch of detailing supplies and products, and they'll be discussing all the techniques, all the things you need to know to demystify paint polishing or paint correction so it can be simpler, because I know there's a lot of you guys who have a bunch of questions, which is totally normal. And don't get confused, right? So paint correction doesn't have to be super complicated. All you need is time and practice and you will get better. And especially with today's technology, there are no real worries about your clear coat. You're not gonna burn through it unless you do something really, really stupid, like staying on the same spot for over 10 minutes without moving your polisher. But then again, just use common sense, but you're gonna see a lot of the cool tips and tricks. And by the way, any products, tools, and equipment that we'll be talking about in the video, I'll just drop the links in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. So as usual, all you have to do is sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Quick disclaimer also, this is not a sponsored video. Nobody paid for this video. We're just sharing some quick tips and tricks in a very in-depth actually kind of way. And you're gonna see, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So Yvan and Nick, let's go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Pan, for the awesome opportunity to talk about detailing and especially polishing paint. This is something that I love to do and talk about. Yvan Lacroix here has been talking about it and teaching it now for, what, 40 years?
At least, yeah. Polishing paint, despite all the stuff on the table, isn't as bad as we think it is. It doesn't require all of this. What it requires is a bit of patience, a bit of practice, and enjoying your results.
And we're all about trying to siphon it all down to a very manageable, almost a standard operating procedure. How can I use what I have to get amazing results? So this is all an example of the chaos, and then we're gonna help you narrow it down to a focused approach to get shiny paint.
Exactly. So first of all, let's look at the machines themselves. We have different types of machines on the market. The oldest one, the one that's been around ever since the car has been around, and maybe before that, is the rotary. And let's take the pad off of here. The rotary, all it does, go around in a circle. Nothing more. Couldn't be simpler. And the rotary, yes, it's been known as a high speed. It's been known as all sorts of different things over the years. But in reality, for me, this is my finishing tool.
The rotary is not dead, folks. It is not even close to dead. In fact, I would argue that it's making a comeback, and it's a lot to do with people like you,
right,
who are espousing not only its ability to cut, which is what most people know. You're actually talking about, don't cut with the rotary, finish with it.
Right, I cut with a DA.
Yeah, so get those finished, polished results with the rotary, and you're going to explain that in a little bit.
Right. Now, the other machines we have are dual action machines, and everybody calls them dual actions, which unfortunately is wrong. They're random orbital machines. But the DA is the name that is stuck.
Yeah. Because
the DA is actually a machine we don't have here. It's made by, well, the most popular one is made by Flex, the 3401 or the Beast, and it is a gear-driven machine. So it has two very distinct actions, meaning the pad turns, but the pad also orbits, like that.
When you say orbit, what do you mean?
So it's not turning on a central axis. So if we look at this one, we have a central axis and it's turning just as a central axis. It's not going left to right. This one, don't put it down on the trigger. This one, not only does it turn in the circle, but it's also off on a different axis. And that different axis on this one, it's a 15 millimeter offset. So meaning the pad, not only is it going around in a circle, it's doing little 15 millimeter circles within that. Now, the true dual action, the gear driven machines, that is geared. I can't free spin it like this. Both actions are driven by the motor. Whereas this one, the orbital action, so the oscillation is driven by the motor, the rotation is just because of inertia.
I will tell you, having used force rotation machines out there, I've used the Rupes Milli, I've used the Flex Beast, right, the 3401. No matter how much pressure you put on the paint, the pad is going to continue to move. And so some people like that.
Yeah.
Some people prefer that. I would say that you'd have to almost try it to get a sense of whether you like it or not.
Right. Some people love it. Some people hate it.
It's not for everybody, and it's not the majority of the machines you're going to use out there under the dual action umbrella.
Right.
So, there's a new Hercules tool from Harbor Freight as well. It's being talked about a lot. So those are forced rotation, dual action polishers. But as it relates to dual action, DA, random orbital, we're going to be talking about a machine like this or like this for the rest of this video.
Right. And we'll call them a DA throughout the video, but know that they should actually be called a random orbital because it is random. It's not a fixed motion. When we're looking at a DA, this one has a 15 millimeter offset. This one, very similar tool, it has a 21 millimeter offset.
Which is a more aggressive offset or orbit.
Right, so much more aggressive. And for cutting, a 21 millimeter is the tool to go to because it's doing twice the work. Not only does it have the rotation of the rotary, but it has that 21 millimeter stroke. So it's definitely cutting a lot faster than a rotary. Now, a lot of people are putting their hands up at this point or starting to type on their keyboards. The rotary is for cutting. The rotary was for cutting. Pad technology has advanced to the point where the dual action does a better job and faster job at cutting than the rotary. And everybody thinks this pad is the one that's going to cut the most. Yes, it does cut a lot, but a pad like this on the dual action actually cuts more.
This is where I'm going to insert and say, before you knock it, try it.
Exactly.
Until you've taken, again, these are our pads, right? Use what you've got. We highly recommend the system we have with the gold standard polish. We'll get to that in a second. But before you write this off, try a pad like this on a 21 millimeter dual action polisher to cut, to remove defects. It works.
Exactly.
It's amazing. But so many people only have a 15 millimeter. And so the defect removal with a 15 millimeter versus 21, it's kind of a game changer. However, a lot of people out there are also going to say, I don't know what polisher to start with, right?
Right.
And this is even my head is like, well, where do I start? I like the 15, but then I want the 21 to cut, and then the rotary to finish. And what do they do, Ivy?
If you only buy one machine, get a 15 millimeter. And it doesn't have to be battery operated. It can be corded. We're just using these for simplicity here for the demonstration. Now, one tool you might have sitting in your garage, in your shed, in the basement, is one of these. This is a random orbital sander. And this, though, there's different ones on the market. They go from a 3 to an 8 millimeter stroke, depending on which one you're purchasing. And they will actually do a great job of giving you gloss and polishing your car. So if you want to, dip your hand into polishing, all you need to do is buy a bit of gold standard, a couple pads. You already have this. Go ahead and polish your car.
It's easy to overthink this process, but to get a shiny vehicle,
right?
Not crazy defect removal, but a shiny vehicle, you can take our 5-inch gold standard waffle pad on a palm sander that you have in your garage. Use the proper technique with the gold standard polish, and you're going to get a shiny car. And I promise you, if you're my dad, my brother, a friend who's never done anything on a car before, we can teach you this method, and it works.
It works well, and you're going to get great shine out of it. Now, you see all these pads on the table. There's a lot of different pads on the market.
And foam, wool, cutting, polishing, what does it all mean?
Right. So cutting means defect removal. It means we're taking away a lot of paint. Polishing means we're refining the surface. We're making it clearer. We're making it better. We can actually see the metallic now in some cases. Now, this old school wool pad still has its place today. They still make thousands of them every day because they work. They do a great job. This on a rotary is a cutting machine. Not as good as this, but this cuts a lot.
It can work great on boats.
Yeah, gel coat, things like that. This works great. And They still make a lot of these. They still sell a lot of these because there's still a lot of people using the rotary to cut. Not a bad thing, trust me. But world has evolved. After we had these, back in the late 60s, we started to see foam pads. And the first foam pads on the market were a flat face. So if we look at this, we actually have a very flat face. And a flat face foam pad works, but it can be improved upon. The flat face means that you don't have as much contact with the paint as you do with a waffle face.
Now, why is that? Because in my head, and again, I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours behind a polisher.
Right.
I've been detailing since 2017. But I lean on your knowledge. So I like to ask the questions, play dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'll just use my beginner's mind here, which actually is sometimes a good thing. To me, this feels very safe and it does well on the paint, right? I've got a flat surface, a flat pad. Oh, they're meant to be together.
Right. Not every car is flat. There's not many flat areas on this vehicle. So a flat pad, you're going to have to move the machine around to get it in. Whereas a waffle pad, if I take this waffle pad and go along here with the machine, it's actually going to get into this crevice. Whereas that, if I want to do the same thing, I have to go along here, then along there.
Yes.
So the waffle pad has its advantages. The other advantage the waffle pad has is its cooling ability. And this is somewhere that this industry has not really caught up with itself. So paint used to be lacquer-based, and lacquer-based paint loved creating heat. You would crank this up, almost stand on it, there'd be smoke coming out of it, the paint would be looking great afterwards. Today's modern clear coats, you can't do that. Heat is a very bad thing for a clear coat. It's a plastic, and that plastic, when you create heat, it swells. It looks good when you're done. Eventually that swelling goes down, and then you see the buffer trails. You've been by a dealership, right? They put that black Escalade, it always seems to be a black Escalade for some reason, up on the step in front of all their used cars, and the day they put it out there, it looks fantastic. Drive by that Escalade 2 or 3 weeks later, and you see trails and grayness and buffer swirls everywhere. That's because they heated the paint up, it was swollen, it looked good. As that swelling goes down and as the solvents that get impregnated into the paint wear their way out, those swirls show up. So it looks good when you're done, but it's not the best alternative. That's why we went with waffle pads with our system.
I would again say, like I did with the 21 and 15,
right?
The defect removal you get from a 21, if you haven't tried it, you kind of have to just try it and trust us, and you'll understand. Same thing with the waffle pad. Because if you've ever detailed before, chances are you got into detailing with flat pads.
Right. Because that's what manufacturers love to make. It costs them a lot less.
And you're a hater on the waffles, and I was for a long time. Ivan convinced me, and I had to be convinced, not with your words,
no,
but by trying it.
Exactly.
So just trust me as a skeptical person myself who detailed most of his career with flat pads. I've converted to waffle. And it makes sense, especially if you're just starting out. It keeps the paint cooler.
Right. Now, there are other types of pads on the market. We have microfiber pads. Now, microfiber pads, I'm not a big fan of because, again, they create a lot of heat. A wool pad like this, so this is a wool pad, and the fiber length is basically the same on both, but this wool pad is going to run cooler than this microfiber pad. And they're going to run cooler than a foam pad. So, but a foam pad, especially a flat foam pad, creates a lot of heat. Microfibers create a lot of heat because it's a man-made fiber, and for some reason it just doesn't work well with polishing paint. And a lot of people love this pad, and there's nothing wrong with that. But broaden your horizons a little bit. Try a few different things. You'll see. The wool pad, again, this wool pad, if you look at the length of the fiber, this is a very long fiber. It's about 10 millimeters long or 3/8 of an inch. We went with a very short fiber, which is 6 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch. And this gives us a much better cut than this. This type of pad, again, it overheats the polish. It does all sorts of weird things, making the polish difficult to wipe off. Whereas this, we're going to cut, we're going to finish well. Some people finish with this pad and it does a great job. Other types of pads on the market, well, we mentioned the wool, and we have combination pads like these. These are made by Lake Country. This is their HDO series. So you have a softer foam where you're working, and then you've got this hard interface foam that gives it a little more structure. So different ways, and try different pads. you'll find one that you like.
And it may take you years behind a polisher to understand the nuances between the interface and the foam versus the flat foam. And don't worry about it, right? Because we're getting into the percentages of this percentages, right? Like,
exactly.
If you want shiny paint, start here. And the more time you spend behind a polisher, the more you're going to get a feel for things. It's like when you try different coffees and you can start to taste the notes of whatever, right? You'll get there. But for now, it's like, we want to safely give our paint some shine.
Right. Now, there's one other tool that we suggest you have. If you're polishing full-time, if you're a professional detailer, you need a pad washer. And this is the System 4000 pad washer from Lake Country. It does an amazing job. And the way it works, it has a pump inside of it. And that pump pumps the liquid up. And if you move slowly, you just get a little bit of water out of it. If you move quickly, you can wet the ceiling. You don't want to wet the ceiling, but you do want to press quickly. And what we're doing is we're actually dampening the pad. And then at a slow speed, we're cleaning the face of the pad. And then at the highest speed the machine will go, we're removing the excess moisture. And now we just have a damp pad. The damp pad does a couple things for us. The damp pad cools the pad. Secondly, the damp pad eliminates dry buffing. And imagine something like this foam, and if we touch it, you can, with the microphone, you can actually hear sort of scratchy. By dampening it, we eliminate that. So we don't have any dry spots on the paint. Now, you'll notice our polish is in a sprayer form. And traditionally,
give it a little shake.
Traditionally people will say, put 4 or 5 drops of polish on your pad. And when you do that, that's what you get. Now, a lot of people are putting 3, 4, and 5 drops this size on their pad. First of all, you're using too much polish when you're doing that. Secondly, what it does is it only gives you 3 or 4 spots that you're actually polishing. Whereas
until you start working it into the paint, and you've done a few passes, everything starts to even out.
Right, but until that point, you can be dry buffing and causing damage to your paint. We put it in a sprayer. So now we have thousands of little drops everywhere across the paint. And you notice I just put 1 spray on. That 1 spray is all we need. Once we have the polish on the pad, we're good to go. Now, a lot of people will prime their pad by putting a lot of polish on there and getting all the fibers damp with polish. That works, but it's also a great way of creating dust, because now you have an excessive amount of polish that is just going to turn to dust. So we prefer having a damp pad. That damp pad is what's priming, and then we just add the polish that we need on top of it.
Let me just get this as simple as I can, Yvan.
Yeah.
You have a method that keeps dusting essentially gone because we have a damp pad and a dust-free polish, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm only using 1 droplet versus 4.
Right.
Like, just trust me, guys. Ivan's trying to save you product, save you time. The method, while very clearly instructed here, when you start using it again, that's when the genius starts to unfold. It's less work and less product, and you're doing the job very safely.
Right. So now, let's look at this beautiful Mercedes here. The paint is a little worse for wear. So we've divided the hood into 3 sections here. We're going to do a 2-stage cut and polish here, meaning we're going to use the wool pad, then finish with the foam pad. Here, we're just going to do a single stage correction. And then here, we're just going to use the little random orbital machine to show you how much gloss we can actually get from that machine. On the machine, I'm going to go mid-speed, so about speed 3, and A few things you'll notice. I was putting no pressure on the machine. Secondly, I was using the trigger lock. And the trigger lock is this here. So when you pull on the trigger, I can lock it on. What that does, if I'm holding the trigger, it basically locks my wrist. By using the trigger lock, I can put my hand in different places, I can better balance the machine and maintain that backing plate rotation. So now we've done a single cutting pass. And by single pass, I like to do 4 passes. So I do a 50% overlap doing this motion, and then I'll do another one like that with a 50% overlap, and then repeat that again. So very simple. We're going to leave this here. We don't need to wipe off the compound or the polish at this point. And we're going to go here, same machine, just change pads. So now I have our waffle foam pad, 1 spray of polish, not 2, fresh from the pad washer, so it's just slightly dampened, and same speed as before. So I've done the same number of passes that I did here. Now I'm going to come back here and refine this surface. So the wool pad, yes, you can finish with it, but we want to refine the surface and show you what 2 steps does. So I'm going to clean my pad. I'll be right back. Clean pad, 1 spray of polish, and off we go. I'm going to let these sit. We're not going to wipe them off right yet because we have this little section to do as well. So the random orbital sander, the pad is dampened from the pad washer. 1 spray of the gold standard, and off we go. Now, some polishes require you to tape all this trim off. If your polish is one of those polishes that leaves your surface white, you definitely want to tape all this off. In our case, we designed the polish so that you can safely polish trim. Now, how do we remove all this polish residue? We're going to use a rinseless dampened towel, the short nap side, if it's a dual-sided towel like this, And no pressure. We're just moistening the polish and it comes right off. Same with this section and same with this section. And then we come back with a dry towel. We'll use the higher nap side just to dry the surface. This is what we started with. Now, let's go to where we polished. This is where we did the two-step, we could call it paint correction. And we've eliminated all those little surface marring, swirls, all of that, and we're good to go. Now, this is where we did just the one-step correction. And where we did that one step, you can see we've eliminated all those little micro surface scratches, but we still have some of the deeper scratches there. But we have a lot of clarity and a lot of gloss to the paint. And then when we move to the third section, this is where we did just a little random orbit sander. So we have great gloss, but we still have a lot of those little micro swirls and micro lines on there that to some people would be annoying. But like I said, super glossy, and we've eliminated the oxidation on the paint.
And when we compare this section to, let's say, the center of the hood, just remember, this is what we started with, guys. So we are talking about degrees of improvement, and this sure looks a lot worse when you compare this, not touched by a polisher, to even that palm sander, that one-step polish with the waffle pad, gold standard polish, and the sander. Okay, Evan, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Right. But you didn't finish with a rotary in the way that I know you know how, and that's using our rotary jeweling pad. This thing is amazing. It is another one of those you have to use to understand, but it's almost like a cheat code for rotary polish.
Right, exactly. So here we go. Pad is fresh out of the pad washer. I've added a spray of the gold standard polish. I have my polisher at the lowest speed possible, which in this case is 800 RPM. And here we go. So first of all, you'll notice I have a death grip on the machine. I'm using two fingers right now. My pinky finger on one side and my index on the other. And it's actually easier to control when you're not holding onto it. If you're trying to manhandle the machine, it's trying to move you around. The less you hold onto it, the simpler it is. And right now I'm in a fairly deep body groove, yet I'm able to control the machine quite easily. So the rotary is all about using no pressure whatsoever. Let the machine do the work, not you. So we've increased the gloss over what we had before. You can really see the gloss now, and we've evened everything out. Now, of course, here we have more correction. Here we have a little less, but we still have that beautiful gloss everywhere. That's what we're after. Polishing paint isn't about perfection, it's about preservation. We're trying to remove oxidation. We're trying to make the vehicle look as good as it can, but by keeping as much paint on the surface as possible for the future. Pan, back to you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Yvan. You guys are outstanding, great personality, and a great duo, right? I hope you guys agreed. If you enjoyed the video, of course, drop a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions as well, let us know. Hopefully, Yvan and Nick will be able to reply to those YouTube comments, should you guys have any detailed questions or technical questions that you might have along the way. I remind you that I'll leave the links to all the tools and products in the description under the video for you guys to check them out. If you enjoyed this video, or if you know anybody that might benefit from the information that was given here, share the video with family and friends, yeah, spread the love for the Pan TheOrganizer YouTube channel. So guys, in the meantime, don't forget, keep it tight, keep it clean, and I'll see you on the next one.